India will be holding its five-yearly election in April-May of 2024, while the farmers in North India have decided to continue their protests. These events could have great significance for start of the Third World War by Germany and China. Of course, they are free moral agents and will make their decisions depending on how circumstances suit them best. But Bible prophecy indicate that they are likely to make a decision sooner rather than later. Hello friends, this is Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini, where I provide unique analysis of world events based on the unmasked truth that after surrender, Germany continued World War II clandestinely and became a killing machine. I also provide true news that you will find nowhere else. Now, this is a follow-up on my post of February 19, 2024, titled World War Watch, Developments in India, and Putin critic Navalny dies in Russia. In that post, I reported on the new farmer protests which are continuing. Election Commission in India will soon be announcing the schedule for the upcoming 2024 elections to be held in April-May 2024 to the lower house of India's parliament, the Lok Sabha, and the Model Code of Conduct during the elections. Farmers from Punjab, a majority Sikh state, had started their march towards Delhi, India's capital, on February 21, 2024. They have to cross the state of Haryana to get to Delhi. The police in Haryana state put up barricades to stop them going to Delhi and clashed with the marchers at the border point Kanori, resulting in the death of one marcher and injuries to about a dozen policemen. Thereafter, the farmer leaders halted their march, though they are still camped at two border points between Punjab and Haryana states, Shambhu and Kanori. 4 rounds of talks with the government failed to achieve a breakthrough in the negotiations. The farmers' leaders have stated that they will continue to camp at the two border sites till February 29, 2024, when they will announce their next course of action. The Tribune newspaper reported on what the farmers' demands are. Besides a legal guarantee for MSP, which is minimum support price, for crops and farm debt waiver, the Punjab farmers also demanding the implementation of the Swaminathan Commission's recommendations, pension for farmers and farm laborers, no hike in electricity tariffs or rates, withdrawal of police cases and justice for the victims of the 2021 Lakhimpuri Kheri violence, in which 8 people, including 4 protesting farmers, were killed, a reinstatement of the Land Acquisition Act of 2013, which was an act of Indian Parliament that regulates land acquisition and lays down the procedure and rules for granting compensation, rehabilitation, and resettlement to the affected persons in India, and compensation to the families of the farmers who died during the previous agitation in 2021, 2020 and 2021. This is what I stated in my February 19, 2024 video. A situation similar to the 2020 and 2021 protests is likely to develop, and that's where the danger lies. During the 2020 and 2021 protests, the Modi government was being urged by his German and Chinese handlers to attack the Sikhs to put an end to the protests. The result would have been a massacre of perhaps hundreds of thousands of protesters. The Germans and Chinese were not happy with Modi because he did not deliver on their demands and because he repealed the farm bills to end the protests. However, nearly a year ago, South Indians made a deal with the Germans to deliver where Modi failed. Since they dictate what goes on in the country now and Modi is Prime Minister in name only, if the situation with protests becomes similar to the situation in 2020 and 2021, with access on roads to Delhi blocked, South Indians who have a very large presence in the Indian military will likely act to massacre Sikhs participating in the protests. After that, they will likely send the military into Punjab state and unleash it on the civilian population to massacre perhaps millions more. That's what the Germans and Chinese have wanted all along, to see how the US will act to defend the Sikhs. Where Modi failed, South Indians under very heavy pressure will be ordered to deliver, to fulfill their promise to the Germans in return for support to corner all of India's wealth and trade with the United States and Europe. I have been rethinking about the situation and it warrants a reassessment. The election is 2 to 3 months away, and pollsters project that Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party, or the BJP, will again win a majority and he will remain the Prime Minister. He simply cannot be ignored and sidelined by the Germans, Chinese, or the United States. Modi is a seasoned, skillful politician. Germans and Chinese will have to work with him as well as the South Indians. During the 2020-2021 farmer protests, Modi could have given the order to forcibly break up the protests by killing tens of thousands or even more than 100,000 protesters, but he did not. He, as a Gujarati, is interested in working for the best interests of his people, as I, as a Punjabi, am interested in working for the welfare of Punjabis. That is why I did not appreciate the three farm laws that the Modi government enacted in 2020, which would have given control of the agriculture sector to his Gujarati cronies. But the fact that he did not carry out the massacre as required by the Germans and Chinese is appreciated by the Punjabi and Sikh farmers. We can be reasonably certain that if in the current farmer protests conditions like the 2020-21 situation develop, most likely he will not carry out a massacre of the North Indian and Sikh farmers. If Narendra Modi remains the Prime Minister, then what South Indians, whom the Germans have appointed as India's new dictators, can do is limited. India's Foreign Minister or Minister of External Affairs Subramanian Jaishankar has been appointed the dictator of India by the Germans behind the scenes. However, he serves in his position as Foreign Minister at the pleasure of the Prime Minister. He could be removed from his position if he acts contrary to the Prime Minister's wishes. What actually takes place will be decided by the Germans and Chinese in consultation with the parties, that is Modi, Jaishankar, and the rest of South Indians. We will have to wait and see how they decide. But it is certain Modi cannot be ignored by the Germans. They may have already decided to work closely together in consultation with both parties from India, that is Modi and the South Indians. We also have to consider the realities of the Indian military. South Indians control all the nuclear weapons, missiles, and most of defense weapons manufacturing. But because of North India's much larger population, majority of soldiers in the Indian army are from the north. However, in the engineering and technical trades in the military, South Indians are in control. In addition, I believe that most of the Punjabi Sikh soldiers in the military have been dispersed in the military units dominated by South Indians and other German allies such as the Rajputs. This was done a few years ago so that it would be easy to massacre all the Sikhs in the Indian military. Modi's people, the Gujaratis, have almost zero representation in the Indian military. Since a majority of the soldiers are from the north, they are unlikely to disobey his orders. However, since the South Indians control India's nuclear weapons and missiles, they could use them even against Modi's wishes and could carry out a substantial massacre of Punjabi Sikhs in the military. Because of their new alliance and understanding with the Germans, they could take this course of action. In my previous videos, I have stated that January 16, 2024 was a key date. God often does his work in 19-year time cycles. Mr. Herbert W. Armstrong, through whom God founded the modern era of his church, preached his first sermon in September-October of 1928. He passed away on January 16, 1986. The man he appointed as his successor, Joseph W. Takach Sr., immediately started dismantling what God had built through Mr. Armstrong. A few months before that, a member named Jules Dervais Jr. had started discussions with leaders who took over from Mr. Armstrong about doctrinal questions. Almost immediately after Mr. Armstrong's death, he recognized that the church was being led astray by the new leadership and started preaching against it. The same warning message to the church that it was forsaking what God had restored through Mr. Armstrong and the need for it to get back on track started to be preached by Gerald R. Flurry, head of the Philadelphia Church of God, in December 1989, and was followed up by David C. Pack, head of the Restored Church of God, in 1999. The 19-year cycle of warning the church to get back on track was completed by them on January 16, 2005. I believe that's when I was commissioned to start my warning messages by ministers in God's church asking me to start preaching in fulfillment of the prophecy in Revelation 10, verse 11, which states, "And he said to me, You must prophesy again about many peoples and nations and tongues," meaning languages, "and kings." So I was allotted a 19-year time cycle to complete my warning messages from the time I was commissioned and completed that work on January 16, 2024. That is why now there is no longer any restraint from God or the Germans for the Germans and Chinese to attack the United States. In my February 19, 2024 video, I stated that the Germans, Chinese, and Indians allied with them might wait for Donald Trump to be elected president before attacking the United States, British Commonwealth nations, and Israel, meaning UBI nations. However, they do not have to wait for Trump to be re-elected before attacking UBI nations to fulfill prophecy. It will be to their advantage to attack as soon as possible because the present US administration is substantially controlled by German masqueraders who most likely have full controls of the US nuclear arsenal. German masquerader prophet Gerald R. Flurry believes former President Donald Trump fulfilled the role of Jeroboam II, king of ancient Israel. Amos 7 verse 11 states, "For thus Amos says, Jeroboam shall die by the sword, and Israel shall surely be led captive out of his own land." Since the ancient Jeroboam II did not die by the sword, this is a prophecy for the end time. If Donald Trump has already fulfilled the role of Jeroboam II, the only remaining part of the prophecy to be fulfilled is for the Jeroboam II of our time to be killed. The Germans don't have to wait for Trump to become president. They can kill him any time after they conquer the UBI nations and still fulfill the prophecy. So, will the farmer protests in India trigger the Third World War? The protests may cause disturbances during election campaigning, though the farmers have said they will protest peacefully. But agents provocateurs may be used by some parties to incite disturbances, blame them on the farmers, and use that as a pretext to take action against them, triggering the Third World War. That decision is up to the Germans, Chinese, and the Indian allies. They have many other options to do so. They could simply use a preemptive nuclear strike to start the war, or in many other ways. The only thing I can say for certain is that after January 2024, there is no longer any restraint from God for them to start the war whenever they deem fit. The warning that God wanted to issue to the world has already been completed. Therefore, the Germans, Chinese, and their Indian allies are likely to start the Third World War sooner rather than later. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please continue to watch my videos on important world events, World War III watch, politics, international business, how Bible prophecy is fulfilling an important role in world affairs, advice on health and medical problems, and much more for in-depth and insightful analysis. Please also follow me on my X channel Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini to view and get information on the latest videos. My channel's X handle is x at True News Saini.